Hey guys, today we are very honored to have a Montreal legendary businessman, a philanthropist, and a minority owner of the Seattle Kraken. Mitch Garber, let's go.
Seattle hat there, good for you.
Yes, right here.
It's okay. I'm wearing a Kraken sweatshirt, so good.
Awesome.
Where are you?
I'm at my dad's office right now,
In which city?
Ottawa.
Awesome. I went to the University of Ottawa, so I lived there for a few years.
Yeah, I know. Dad. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say I really enjoyed my research on you because you're such a successful businessman, a great down to earth guy, and you just seem like a very nice guy. So my biggest takeaway was you're successful, great, down to earth, good person. So I think I'm really gonna enjoy this podcast with you.
My mother will be happy to hear that from you. So thank you for those kind words. But I just want to tell you that what I'm really enjoying about this part of my life is actually the emergence of social media. Because while there's so much negative about social media and fake news and a lot of the things that have not gone right, I get to see a story about you posted on Twitter, and then I get to DM you and meet you. And I think that could never happen when I was a kid. It just couldn't happen. So these are the good things that come out of social media. So thank you for answering my DM.
You're welcome. So, if you don't mind, I would like to talk about, the story. I'd like to talk about the Kraken, and then I'm gonna do a couple rapid fire questions. Are you okay
Sure.
with that?
Sure.
All right. And we're gonna learn a lot about you, and I'm just gonna try to keep this as short as possible. Okay.
Sure. Absolutely. I'm with you.
All right. So, you and Mitch Milnick hosted a sports show called the Sports, sorry, called the Sports Hot Seat early in your career. Were you always passionate about sports, and did you like to play sports as a kid?
Yeah, well, thanks. That's a great question. So, growing up, I only played sports, and I don't like to make it seem like those were the good old days, but those were the days where we didn't have internet, computers, really video games. So we played sports outside all the time, and when we weren't playing sports outside, we played sports inside. Played sports at recess, sports at lunchtime, at school. So most of the people in my generation grew up playing a lot of sports. I happened to also grow up really appreciating a broadcaster named Howard Cosell, who was a lawyer and a sportscaster, very intelligent, very funny, very controversial. And so I sort of grew up thinking I knew I wouldn't be a professional athlete. I thought I might become a lawyer. He was a lawyer. I thought I might become a sportscaster. So I got into that as well for 9 years. So I really followed this. I guess I don't want to say idol, but I followed this person, Howard Cosell, that I had this great respect for.
Nice. Okay, so you can live really anywhere in the world, anywhere you want. Why do you choose Montreal, and why do you think you talked about the culture of Quebec and how great you think Montreal is, but why do you choose Montreal? What's so special about Montreal?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of things that are special about it. I guess the first thing is, your home is your home. Your hometown is your hometown. The familiarity of it, the family aspect of it. In 1906, my great grandmother came from Russia through England and landed in Montreal and built our family roots here in Montreal. So I really have a deep historical loyalty and love for the city. I married a French Canadian woman 30 years ago, and so I studied law in French. So I really did a bit later in life, meaning in my 20s, not that much later in life, but in my 20s, I really embraced French language and French culture, and appreciated that I live in a sort of European Canadian city, and I've just enjoyed that part of it my whole life. And we have everything here that I need. Great food, great people, great shopping, Not necessarily great weather, but when you're born here, that's the weather that you get used to. So I've just really always been in love with the city.
And you also say that, like, you said in one of your interviews, family is like one of your, like, the first priority, and your family lives in Montreal, correct?
Yeah. So yeah, it's true that family is the number one priority, but I think that when I said that, what I was trying to say was that, the quality of life of bringing up your family is the most important thing. So now my kids are in their 20s and they do both live in Montreal and we live in Montreal. But really what I say about the city is that it has and had a really safe and good quality of life to bring up children. And so I really appreciated that.
I was born in Montreal and I just love the city. I'm like in love with it. Love downtown, old Montreal. It's such a great city.
And you live in Ottawa, and I lived in Ottawa for 3 years when I went to law school. So we have that in common.
Maybe I'm gonna move to Vegas when I'm older.
Maybe.
How has McGill and your law degree from Ottawa U prepared you for, like, your career as a businessman?
Interesting question, because like you, I've become very comfortable talking publicly, being interviewing people. I've done both. And so I think my study of law really helped me for that. We did a lot of mock court pleadings, and I became very, very comfortable. It became very natural for me to articulate my opinion, to speak publicly, to not be overly nervous when I was speaking publicly. And so, I learned negotiating in law school. I learned critical thinking. I think the thing though that I got out of it most was self-confidence. I really developed this ability to express myself, and that came from law school.
So the gaming industry has been a big part of your success. Gambling and investing seem very similar. Do you think that is, like, what attracted you to the industry?
No, I don't. I think I actually don't think gambling and investing are that similar. I think they can be. I think for people who play the stock market, that for them, I think gambling and the stock market can be the same. For me, gambling was a form of entertainment that people allocated a certain budget to, as if they were going for dinner or as if they were going to spend a week in the Bahamas. So I always felt like working in Las Vegas, for example, people were spending some part of their entertainment dollars to gamble. Or if I was at Party Poker, they were spending some part of their entertainment dollars to play poker. Of course, some people spend more than their entertainment dollars, and we cared a lot about responsible gaming. I don't view investing as entertainment. I view investing as a much more sort of educated, long-term pursuit. Gambling is a night of gambling or an hour of gambling, and investing is kind of a much more long-term pursuit.
So what's your favorite part about, like, Las Vegas and, like, gambling? Like, what's your favorite part about it?
I think I really liked Las Vegas for the time that I was working there. It was hard to not be impressed by the size of the hotels. Our company had 23,000 rooms just in Las Vegas alone, 72,000 employees, just massive amounts of people and rooms and restaurants and stores and nightclubs and day clubs and obviously blackjack tables and craps tables and slot machines. So just rattling all those things, all entertainment, all the great singers and entertainers and DJs. So it was very exciting to be around all of that stuff, I would say. But to be in the business of it, to be thinking about how the businesses worked, how the hotels worked, how the World Series of Poker worked as a business. So what I enjoyed the most was, it's obviously an exciting city to be in, and there's obviously many exciting things to do, but I also find the business of Las Vegas, the tourism, gaming, entertainment, shopping business to be really interesting.
How important is it to surround yourself with good, successful people in business?
I wouldn't be successful without them, and that's absolutely the case. I have met entrepreneurs that do a lot on their own and have been very successful on their own. And I'm not that person. If I go to each stage of my career and I go company by company, I can rattle off names of people that were the catalysts to the success, that without whom I wouldn't be successful, the business wouldn't be successful. So yeah, it's critical. It's mission critical.
Yeah, it's very important. I can speak firsthand about, how important it is to support our hospitals and, schools. Why do you feel that it is so important to give?
Right. So, when I started to become more financially successful, I was getting older also. So I started to learn more about the healthcare system. I think we have a great healthcare system in Canada, but our tax dollars are not sufficient to support the healthcare system. And I accept that. So I accept that those of us who are more fortunate or most fortunate, I believe, have a moral obligation to help add to the system. It's one of the only countries in the world where private individuals give money to publicly government-owned hospitals. And I'm very proud of that, actually, that, everybody in Canada and everybody in Quebec gets, fundamental and equal access to healthcare. So knowing that the governments can't possibly support the healthcare system at the level that we need it to be, and that it requires the donations of private individuals, and knowing that I have more money than I need and have to choose the places where I want to donate some of it to, the hospital system is an easy choice.
Yeah, I donated. So I sell merchandise on my podcast for a podcast, and I raised how much? $1,000 for CHIO. So I donated that to my local hospital.
Which hospital is it for?
Children's hospital.
The Montreal Children's.
Yeah, children. No, not Montreal Children's. Sorry, it was Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario. So it's
very cool. Hey, do you mind just spending a minute telling your health story, because that's how we met. So I'd love to just I know that the viewers of your podcast know it, but I'd like to just hear it from you since we've never met before.
Sure. So I was born with sarcoidosis. So it's a rare heart condition. About one person gets it every year. One person is diagnosed with it every year. And so I had my first open heart at 22 days old. And that was in, what hospital was that then? Saint-Justin. So I had my first open heart at Saint-Justin. And I moved to Ottawa in 2014, I believe, 2013. And so I went to CHIO. And, CHIO is just amazing. They help out a lot. The nurses, doctors, everyone, they're just great. So I can't do a lot as a child. So, I started this podcast. I got a microphone and I said, hey, to my dad, why don't we start interviewing people? That would be great. And then he said, yeah, sure. So my first podcast was with Brooke Henderson, and then we started doing it. And then I was like, you know what? I really want to help out CHIO because of all they've done for me. So I started to sell hoodies, and I got $1,000. I raised $1,000. So all proceeds go to CHIO for my hoodies.
Wow. Well, I'm going to donate $1,000 after this podcast. So in your honor and in your name, because I'm so impressed. I really am so impressed. It's quite amazing what you're doing and what you've done. And I think you have a real future in potentially in broadcasting. You're smart. You think quickly. You don't get too nervous. I didn't have 100th the confidence. How old are you? 12?
12, yeah.
12. I didn't have 1/100th of the confidence you had when I was 12. If they would have put a microphone in front of me, I would have died, I think. So I'm really impressed.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I
have to write that down. I won't forget once we get off.
Wow. Okay. So, wow. I interviewed Jeff Baker of the Seattle Times about the Kraken. Another Montrealer, and Vanier alumnus. He talked about the fan support in Seattle. Did you ever think the people of Seattle would welcome an NHL team like they have?
So I asked that question of David Bonderman and Jerry Bruckheimer because they knew Seattle much. Well, I didn't know Seattle at all, and they said that they did expect this type of support because they always felt that Seattle was a great sports town and a town that could really support and get behind NHL hockey, since they had minor league hockey for a long time, and of course they had professional hockey way back in the early 1900s. So I'm surprised because I didn't know Seattle, and watching the arena be built, and then obviously going to the opening game against Vancouver, and then going to the Canadiens game, and then the Sabres game, and seeing that the fans have really embraced the team in an incredible way, even when they're losing. So these fans have been waiting for a long time for hockey. They know the game and are learning the game. Those that don't know the game are learning the game. And it's just an unbelievable vibe. The merch is flying off the shelves. Everybody's wearing Kraken gear. It's just amazing.
So the Kraken, they have an amazing ownership group. What is it like being part owner for an NHL team with men, like you said, David Bonderman, Jerry Bruckheimer, and Todd Lewicki?
Yeah, so all the gentlemen that you named are, I feel very privileged to be around them. Todd has run a number of professional sports franchises, so I learn a lot from him. David Bonderman's been a mentor and a partner and a friend for about 13 years, and I learn a lot from him about business, about how to be a gentleman, just so many different things. Andy Jassy's the CEO of Amazon. He just took over the job from Jeff Bezos, so I have a lot to learn from him. Then we have a bunch of families from Seattle, the Hanauers, the Ackerleys, the Deutsches, Len Potter from New York. Just a really, really cool group that I'm privileged to be around. Victor DeBonis, who's the chief operating officer and the CFO of the team, he ran the Canucks for almost 20 years. We talk hockey all the time. So this is just, for me, a dream. Just excited to be around those guys.
And did you ever think, like when you were a kid, like little kid, did you ever think you would be working with those guys? And like, did you ever think you would be like where you are today?
No, I think all of our journeys are different, and none of us can predict our journey. You were born with this heart ailment, and now you're hosting a podcast. So that's completely unpredictable, and you're doing amazing things with your circumstance. And I was born to a family that didn't have a lot of money. We weren't poor, and we certainly weren't rich. We lived in an upstairs duplex. My parents wanted to send me to private school. Many of the years in private school, my tuition was paid by donations, and my path has guided me to here. But there's no way that I could have predicted that this is where I'd end up. No.
So now we have some rapid fire questions. Are you good?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
All right. Who was your childhood hero?
Muhammad Ali and Howard Cosell, two of them.
Will there be a downtown ballpark in Montreal, and will we get an MLB team?
If I were betting on it, I would bet yes.
The biggest thing about owning an NHL team?
The magic of it, the honor of it.
You're in Montreal craving a smoked meat. Where do you go?
Snowden Dell.
Favorite Montreal sports moment?
1982 Major League Baseball All-Star Game, or the 24th Stanley Cup.
What is your biggest strength as a businessman?
I would say my interpersonal skills, my ability to connect with people very quickly, and different types of people.
Once a Habs fan, always a Habs fan?
No.
No? How do you?
I have a lot of respect for the Habs. It's funny, and maybe your dad would probably identify with this, but I run into Guy Lafleur or Yvon Lambert or Larry Robinson or Pete Mahovlich. I can go through all the names, Jacques Lemaire, Steve Shutt. And for me, it's magical. So those memories of growing up a Habs fan in the 70s will never be replaced by any other, by anything similar to that. But now I'm 57 years old. And now I have this project that I'm in love with. And so it's a new phase.
So how do you wind down at the end of the day?
Yeah, I usually, it's easy for me to get, when I get home, I'm wound down. We have a little dog at home. I love being around the dog. Sometimes have a glass of wine, I guess. That's one wind down. But generally speaking, I don't really need to wind down. I'm always in fairly the same type of mood. I'm not too high. I'm not too low. So I'm always happy to get home.
Steamy ou toasté?
Steamy.
If you could recommend a book, what would that be?
Yeah, it depends, what age group we're recommending a book for. So people who love business, I love this book called Startup Nation because it allows me to promote the country of Israel and how great and entrepreneurial the country is. When I was a little kid growing up, my mom used to buy me biographies, and I remember reading the biography of John F. Kennedy. Small book for children, not a big book, not a complicated book. Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali. And so I read all these small biography books. So really depends on what age group of people that I'm talking to.
Yes or no? Any major regrets?
No.
Finally,
I regret that my father didn't live long enough to meet my children or my wife, but that's not a regret that I could have done something about. So I don't have any regrets, no.
yeah, and I bet he would have been very proud of what you've accomplished.
Thank you.
And finally, if you could give me one piece of advice, what would that be?
Well, I would say that you should continue to pursue the things that really interest you, and you're doing really well at them. Most people don't get to do what they really love to do. And you have created an opportunity for yourself to do something that you really want to do. I think it's broadcasting. I think it's podcasting. I think it's fundraising for this good cause. So I would keep going, and I would have total confidence. I think you should call on anyone you want and not think, oh, you know what, that person will never answer. They may not answer, but you should DM them. You should find someone who knows them who will DM them. I think you should keep going absolutely aggressively and build yourself and build your brand that's going to be, a brand for, raising money for the hospital for children and raising awareness and becoming even better at what you're doing, and you're already great at it.
Thank you so much. And thank you for joining my podcast. It was an honor having you. I had a great time. And it was awesome.
Thank you. Well, yeah, thank your dad for lending you his office for the podcast. I appreciate it. And I'll make that donation for $1,000 in the name of Zander. And I look forward to seeing this podcast and sharing it with the people who follow me.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. Nice to see you.
Good night.
Bye.